We all know too well about the famous or infamous Pablo Escobar and El Chapo. Be it the many books, TV series, and documentaries, we all are fascinated by their rise to be the kings of the world of drug smuggling. Do you think that Pablo Escobar and El Chapo had similar lives? Do you know of any tactics used by them to gain power that blew your mind? Keep watching to learn more about their lives and habits. In the ocean of drug smuggling, Pablo Escobar and El Chapo were two big fish. But there is a question that remains unanswered. Which one of them was the bigger fish? Pablo Escobar and El Chapo are two names that need no introduction. They both are famous for drug smuggling, and it might seem like they are similar, but they are very different people in reality. Let's take a look at their lives in more details. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was born in 1949, December 1st. His birthplace is Antioquia Department, Colombia, located in the city of Rio Negro. His mother was a school teacher in a nearby school, whereas his father was a cattle farmer. He had a large family with 7 kids. Overall, they were doing fine and leading a comfortable life. He mainly lived in an area which had access to a lot of narcotic activity, and he purchases marijuana for himself as well. He saw a lot of potential in the narcotics business and planned to make a lot of money from it. He saw an opportunity in the American tourists who were willing to pay a lot for cocaine. Pablo was engaged in a lot of illegal activities and vowed to get into the business of dealing cocaine in Colombia. If we look at the life of El Chapo, we know that he was born as Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera on April 4, 1957, in the village of Sinaloa in Mexico. He didn't have a wealthy family, and he mostly lived in the rural community of Sinaloa. His mother was in charge of keeping the large household together, while his father was a cattle rancher, similar to Escobar's father. There is some evidence to suggest that he was an opium farmer, but nothing can be said with utmost conclusion. In his early childhood, El Chapo adopted the mindset of a businessman by starting to sell oranges on the street. He ended up dropping out of school and started helping out his father in his line of work. He wanted to grow the business and earn more money. As a result, he turned to more lucrative sources of income. When he was a teen, he was kicked out of his home, and even though he was just 15, he was determined to make it on his own. He saw selling marijuana as an easy way to make money, and he ended up shutting down his farm work and put all his effort in selling marijuana. Starting from his childhood to 1975, Escobar's rise to power truly began when he had started buying, refining, and selling cocaine in the United States of America. He was getting serious about the business and was doing quite well on his own. And then the Medellin cartel lost their leader, the drug lord Fabio Restrepo. Escobar stepped in and filled the shoes of the leader. He was already a millionaire by then and was on the way to claim his status as a billionaire. His reign was marked by tremendous growth, and he dominated the narcotics trade across the North and South of America. He worked towards expanding the production distribution of the organization and increased their influence and bottom line as a result. He ended up becoming responsible for 80% of illegal cocaine supply in the United States in no time. El Chapo, on the other hand, started working for a lot of drug hotels in Mexico by the 70s. He checked the transportation of drugs and handled their shipments from the Sierra Madre to the urban areas near the Mexico-US border. By the 1980s, he was engaged in working for Mexico's top crime organization, the Guadalajara Cartel, which was led by Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, known as El Padrino or Godfather. His reputation was very well known by his colleagues, and he was very appreciated by higher-up authorities. He was very strict if the shipments were not on time or short of the supply, and death was his only answer to any incompetence. El Chapo constantly gained more and more power in the organization, and after the arrest of El Padrino in 1986, El Chapo became the leader. He quickly worked to become a very important figure in the business of narcotics trade, and he ended up ruling South America. Like all the popular stories, his ascension to the throne was not achieved without a lot of bloodshed. It was a truly violent time, but El Chapo was very ruthless in his ways and ended up coming out as the winner. If we see the personal lives of the drug lords, we know that Escobar married Victoria Naucalejo, who was 15 years old at the time of the marriage. They had 2 kids together, Juan Pablo and Manuela. It was common knowledge that Pablo wasn't a very loyal husband and had practiced infidelity. His preferences might have changed after the marriage, and since his wife was quite young, he might have wanted to try other options. Despite his alleged affairs, they stayed together. On the other hand, El Chapo married Alejandrina Maria Salazar Hernandez in 1977. He had 3 kids, and there wasn't a very long-lasting marriage. He fell in love with a bank clerk called Estela Pena, who was from Nayarit. He kidnapped and slept with her. He found love in all the wrong places, and for the 3rd time, he married again to Criselda Lopez Bereth and had 4 kids with her. He married for the 4th time to Emma Coronel Ispuro in 2007. He had twins with his former wife Lopez Perez, and she was arrested in 2010. Most of El Chapo's children and former wives were either dead or arrested in jails because they were deep in the dangerous world of narcotics. We can say that Escobar was an unfaithful and disloyal husband, but he comes out as more of a family man. Pablo Escobar had a lot of leverage and influence over local law authorities. He was a very cruel and cold man, and his method for dealing with enemies was either silver or lead. He started with bribery and didn't hesitate to make sure that the person didn't live long enough to hurt him. He had no consideration for rich and poor, occupation, status, and his exact number of kills is unknown but estimated to be in thousands. His most targeted victims were politicians, journalists, and judges. He had a lot of influence and used bribes, such as paying $2.5 million for a prison escape. He didn't hesitate to bribe prison staff for having multiple escapes. Even though there was an aggressive war on cartels, he continued to live luxuriously and even hosted a wedding attended by politicians and police. Similarly, in the mid-80s, Escobar in Colombia was at his utmost peak, being ranked as the 7th richest person by Forbes magazine. He had built a vast empire, including a private zoo, and focused on positively impacting Medellin. He spent millions on community projects, making him a hero to some and a notorious criminal to some others. If we look at El Chapo, we see that he expanded his drug empire beyond cocaine to meth and dominated various Mexican cartels. Escobar, who was targeted by law enforcement for over a decade, surrendered but in the end lived in a self-designed luxury prison and continued his empire until escaping in 1992. After murdering 2 associates in his prison, he was hunted down and killed in 1993, putting an end to his reign. El Chapo was first imprisoned in 1993. He escaped in 2001 and expanded his empire while still not getting captured. The U.S. froze his accounts in 2009, leading to his capture in 2014. He escaped again in 2015 via an underground tunnel, but was recaptured back in 2016. Extradited to the U.S. in 2017, he was sentenced to life plus 30 years and ordered to pay $12.6 billion in restitution and damages. Escobar's legacy continues through numerous movies, series, books, and merchandise, and he is often glamorized as a legend rather than a criminal. In contrast to that, El Chapo's legacy differs. His cartel continued to thrive after his life imprisonment, unlike Escobar's, which declined post his death. El Chapo is known for innovative ways of drug smuggling, mainly the use of air-conditioned tunnels under borders. However, his influence faded in prison, losing power and influence. The rise of El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel coincided with the time of fall of Escobar's Medellin cartel. Escobar is remembered as a winner until his death, while El Chapo's defeat in prison marks his legacy and end. Despite their downfalls, the world of narcotics continues, with new figures coming up every day, aspiring to beat the old levels of power and influence. What do you think? Will somebody ever beat them? We just had a look at the eventful lives of 2 very powerful drug lords. Please tell us in comments which was your favorite part of the video and which part of their lives was most interesting to you. For more such content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.